Air conditioning just became the most talked about discovery of the 2026 World Cup, and it has absolutely nothing to do with football. There is a moment that thousands of European fans experienced this summer that stopped them completely in their tracks. They stepped outside into triple-digit American summer heat, felt it hit them for the first time in their lives, walked through the nearest door into a hotel lobby, a restaurant, a shopping mall, or a gas station, and just stopped. Because inside it was cold. Not cool, not comfortable. Cold. The kind of aggressive, goosebump-inducing reach-for-your-jacket cold that Americans have lived with so long, they genuinely do not notice it anymore. For European fans who grew up in countries where air conditioning is a rarity or something their government actively discourages, that moment became one of the most talked-about experiences of the entire tournament. Today we are breaking down exactly why America and Europe made completely opposite decisions about air conditioning, what happened when a million Europeans walked from one world into the other this summer, and why those two different decisions are now honestly a matter of life and death. Before we get into it, here is a question with a real answer for you. What percentage of American homes have air conditioning compared to European homes? Drop your guess in the comments now. Is it A, America 60%, Europe 40%? B, America 75%, Europe 30%? C, America 90%, Europe 20%? Or D, America 95%, Europe 10%? Go ahead and comment now because the real numbers explain everything that happened this summer. And honestly, they surprised us too when we first looked them up. So here's the context first. America decided decades ago that indoor spaces should be cold, full stop, and then built its entire infrastructure around that assumption. It started with one man. In 1902, an engineer named Willis Carrier invented the first modern electrical air conditioning system, and by the 1950s and the 1960s, central air conditioning had become standard in American homes and buildings. That central system is key. It is not a portable unit sitting in a window. It is a whole home setup using refrigerant and ductwork, engineered to hit a target temperature of around 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit and pull humidity out of the air at the same time. The cooling capacity is measured in BTUs, and modern American central air conditioning units are rated by something called a SEER score, which stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. The higher the SEER rating, the more efficiently the system cools. That combination of whole home reach, low humidity targets, and high BTU output is exactly why stepping inside an American building feels so dramatically different from anything most Europeans have experienced. It was driven by the reality that huge parts of the country experience dangerous summer heat. Today, according to the International Energy Agency, roughly 90% of American homes have air conditioning. It is not a perk. It is not an upgrade. It is just how buildings work. Europe made a completely different calculation. For most of the continent's modern history, summers were mild enough that air conditioning was simply not considered necessary, especially in Northern Europe. The housing stock was built to retain heat, not shed it, because for most of European history, the problem was staying warm in winter, not staying cool in summer. Where cooling exists in European homes at all, it is typically a split system, a single wall-mounted unit cooling one room, rather than the central whole home systems Americans take for granted. Energy prices in Europe are also significantly higher than in the US, making air conditioning expensive to run. And European governments have consistently framed air conditioning as an ecological threat that contradicts the continent's climate commitments. The result is that only about 20% of European homes have air conditioning today, according to the same International Energy Agency data. In Britain, that figure is around 14%, in Germany around 18%. And for most Europeans, that has just been the way things are, until this summer. Now here is what happened when European fans who grew up in that world landed in America. English fan David Blackmore documented his experience on TikTok, and it went viral almost immediately. He described standing outside in Dallas in 35 degrees Celsius heat, which is 95 degrees Fahrenheit, sweating through his clothes, and then walking into AT&T Stadium, which hosted 9 World Cup matches, more than any other venue, and seats 94,000 people. He said it felt like stepping into a fridge. He had never experienced anything like it at a football match. Walking back outside after the game, he said, felt like someone had turned the oven back on. British food YouTuber Jono Yates spent several weeks touring Dallas, New York, and Philadelphia for the World Cup, and said after returning home that the thing dominating his mind was not the barbecue, the bagels, or the cheesesteaks. It was the air conditioning in the hotel rooms. He called it absolute happiness. He said he now knew what the best thing in the world was. French comedian Victor Vacheron told The Washington Post that the World Cup had taught him Americans might genuinely be onto something with the air conditioning. His word for it was bliss. French TikTok creator @OtherMichael Phelps summed up the whole mood after arriving in Texas by posting that air conditioning deserved a verse in the American national anthem. That one went everywhere. According to TikTok, the World Cup hashtag has now surpassed 8 million posts on the platform, with air conditioning content emerging as one of the defining off-field trends of the entire tournament, alongside cowboy culture, Costco runs, and late-night IHOP breakfasts. Time Out called it the funniest World Cup trend yet, and somebody on TikTok dubbed the whole tournament the Great American Sleepover, which honestly is not wrong. Now here is where the story stops being funny, because while European fans were posting videos calling American air conditioning absolute bliss, the situation back home in Europe was turning into a genuine public health emergency. Europe is currently experiencing what meteorologists are describing as its most severe heat wave on record, with France recording temperatures of 44.3 degrees Celsius in some regions. According to Yahoo News and The Washington Post, over 1,300 excess deaths have already been linked to the European heat wave since June 21st of this year. Schools have closed, train tracks have warped. The World Health Organization has confirmed that over just the past 4 years alone, heat has claimed more than 200,000 lives across the EU. And heat causes an estimated 175,000 deaths across Europe every single year on an ongoing basis. And here is the number that really stops you in your tracks. A 2007 study confirmed that air conditioning can cut heat-related deaths by 75%. 3/4 of those deaths potentially preventable. Europe largely does not have it. Over in France right now, fights are breaking out inside stores as people scramble to buy electric fans and portable air conditioning units. And instead of treating that as a public health emergency, the French environment minister responded to the rising demand by publicly describing herself as horrified by calls for air conditioning, framing it as an environmental threat rather than a public health solution. That is the gap in one sentence. In America, a hotel without air conditioning would be unacceptable. In France, the government is horrified that people want it. To be fair, there is a middle ground solution gaining real traction across Europe right now: heat pump technology. A heat pump works differently from traditional air conditioning. It moves heat rather than generating cold, making it significantly more energy efficient, and the same unit can heat a home in winter and cool it in summer. Several European governments are actively subsidizing heat pump adoption as a way to address cooling needs without abandoning their climate commitments. It is a legitimate path forward, but heat pump adoption at scale takes years. And right now, in this heat wave, it is not saving the 1,300 people who have already died. Brian Motherway, head of the Office of Energy Efficiency at the International Energy Agency, explained to CNN that Europe simply has no tradition of air conditioning because until relatively recently, it was not considered a major need. The continent's housing stock, its energy infrastructure, its entire policy framework was built around a climate that quite simply no longer exists. The technical term for this is cooling degree days, a meteorological measurement of how much and for how long outdoor temperatures exceed a comfortable baseline. Europe's cooling degree days have been rising sharply for decades. The buildings were not designed for it, the grid was not designed for it, and the political conversation has been slow to catch up. And that is the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all the funny TikTok videos. The European fans who went home from this World Cup talking about American air conditioning like a life-changing discovery are returning to countries where 175,000 people die from heat every year, in homes never designed to keep people cool, in a political environment where asking for air conditioning is treated as a moral failing. Meanwhile, in America, the debate is not whether to have air conditioning. The debate is literally what temperature to set the thermostat. Here is the escalation that puts everything into sharpest focus. The same 2007 study that found air conditioning can reduce heat deaths by 75% has been available to European governments for nearly 20 years. The World Health Organization numbers on annual heat deaths in Europe are not new. What is new is that over 1 million European fans just spent several weeks in one of the most aggressively air-conditioned countries on Earth, posting videos about how good it felt, while 1,300 of their fellow Europeans died in the heat at home. Some fans are going home as converts, some are going home angry, and some are just going home with a blanket because American hotel rooms in July genuinely require one. All right, let's go back to the question from the start. What percentage of American homes have air conditioning compared to European homes? The answer is C. America 90%, Europe 20%. Confirmed by the International Energy Agency, 9 out of 10 American homes, 2 out of 10 European homes. That gap, which most people on both sides of the Atlantic never really thought about before this summer, became one of the defining stories of the 2026 World Cup. And it is not going away anytime soon. Now, I want to hear from you. If you are European and came to America for this World Cup, what was your honest reaction the first time you walked into an American hotel room or restaurant? And if you are American, does it genuinely surprise you that most of Europe does not have air conditioning at home? Drop it in the comments, because honestly, this one is going to get a reaction from both sides of the Atlantic. If you liked this video, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because there is a lot more coming before the tournament wraps on July 19th. And always remember, whether you call it football or football, the game always brings us together. I'll see you on the next one.